Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Paul. So if you've got a product or service and you want to get it out to a bunch of people and actually get that product or service endorsed, then my guest speaker today, Andy Hussong, is one of my kind of hidden gems behind the scenes. He's the guy behind the scenes that actually goes out and finds people for me to work with. And he's kind of got such an amazing way of doing this that I wanted him to come on today to share exactly how you can go about doing exactly the same process without actually needing a JV broker or manager. It's just some things that you can do yourself. Now, if you want to know kind of how powerful this is, in the last 12 months, we generated $1,843,688 from our joint ventures of my own products. So this is people that have actually come and promoted my products, right? And on top of that, I've made roughly about the same from promoting other people's products. Right? So these are super powerful. So if you think about it as well, like people endorsing your product. So if somebody is going to their audience that knows, likes and trusts them, and they say, you know, come on and bring on some training or something like that first so that people can kind of open their eyes, see what's possible, get something that they can take away for free. But at the end, they make them a offer for their programs, then it's super, super powerful. There is kind of nothing better. It's one of the kind of hidden gems towards traffic. And there's a way that you can do this yourself. You can go take your offer. You don't need to run any ads. You don't need any social strategies. And you can literally start reaching out to people and getting them to promote your product straight away. So I'm going to bring Andy on now because he's going to dig in and tell you stuff that you don't normally get to hear. You don't normally get to see. So you're going to absolutely love this. So without further ado, here he is, Andy Hussong. Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm super excited today because my very good friend Andy has decided to take some time out of his day to come and give us a chat. And Andy Hussong is my behind the scenes JV manager or JV broker, as we like to refer to it now. And he's highly respected as an authority of online joint ventures. I mean, like, he is top of the game. He's been doing this quite a few years. There isn't anyone in the industry that Andy hasn't worked with, right? So he partners with affiliates, and he sends them to their high converting offers, products, services, webinars, gets two people together, and then magic happens. It's kind of amazing. So he's been doing this since 2005. So he's been down in the trenches, connecting and collaborating with hundreds of online marketers, helping them to team up with one another, making them millions in profits and their high converting webinars, product launches, and evergreen affiliate opportunities. And I'm just going to add to this as well. He's just one of the most nicest guys in the industry. He's somebody that I've got to know really well over the last 2 years. Just, we work really closely together. Like, we're emailing. You're kind of like, you and Kevin are the people I talk to the most, and your main sidekick, Vinny, as well. So like, you guys obviously a big part of my life now on my online business. But also on top of that, he also founded the very popular WebinarCon, which he founded 2 years ago with Anik Sigal and Ron Douglas. Some of you guys know Ron because I've worked with Ron. And this is basically a live webinar. This is a live conference which is basically focused around joint ventures, webinars, things like that. And it brings experienced webinar makers under one roof to improve their techniques and sales results. And he gets, you know, all the leaders in the game. I couldn't go this year because of COVID, but, you know, try and stop me next year. And as you know, basically, so everyone gets together and they can kind of collab and get to know each other. Like, it's basically one big networking event for real big leaders, whilst having, you know, amazing guest speakers that come on stage and give you solid like training as well. So it's kind of like goes hand in hand. So anyway, thanks so much for coming on, man. Really good to see you. And you know, I know that this is, you know, you're taking time out of your day. This isn't necessarily a massive thing for you to kind of get loads of business. You're just doing this for me. So I really do appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man, totally my pleasure. And you know what? I love doing these. I haven't done a whole lot of podcasts lately. I've done them over the years, but I just really enjoy, you know, especially with somebody I know well, like yourself. And I know that you really take care of your people. And so I just want to give back and share what I can share. And that's about it, man. It's awesome to be here, and I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So as we get started, like I guess everyone's like sitting there thinking, like, how did we meet? What's our story? So how did I get to know you?
Right. Well, actually, I remember I had reached out to you. And it's funny because before we started this call, we were talking about how, kind of what happens in the whole process of connecting with people and, what it takes to, eventually get on the radars of players in the industry.
Yeah.
Well, I had actually seen your webinar or parts of it. I really don't watch very many webinars myself these days, but I caught wind of your webinar through a mutual friend. And I was just thinking to myself, I have a lot of contacts who would probably be interested in endorsing that webinar to their audience. And so I reached out to you, Paul, and just asked you if you had anyone that was already, kind of brokering that webinar out to other people or not, and if it would be an opportunity for me to come in and maybe help out. And so that's how we got the ball rolling.
Yeah, and actually, the person I already knew about you because when you reached out to me, Joe Jablonski had already pre-framed and said, by the way, Andy Hussong, biggest name in the industry for webinar brokerage, like he wants to connect with you. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know that was the thing, right? I was literally, before that, I was pushing my webinar, I was doing a few ads, I was doing my organic strategies. I didn't know, like in 1997 to 99, so in another life, I did 2-year acting course. And the main goal at the end of that is to go to drama school, which I never did because I didn't get in. But then the main goal after drama school is to get an agent, right? And what does an agent do? An agent will book you into like films and book you into like theatre productions and things like that. So I didn't even know that you're kind of you're the version of that in this industry, right? So I didn't even know that existed. And, if you don't mind, I'm going to say your exact way you contacted me was, how would you like me to blow up your calendar?
Should I say that? Man.
Yeah, it's exactly. But I already knew you were going to contact me. So yeah. I took one glance at the calendar on my wall and I thought, well, I'm not sure I want explosives going on over there, but hey, let's find out about this guy. But yeah, sorry, that was my bad attempt at a joke. But yeah, cool, man. That's exactly how it happened, and that's literally what happened. After that, we just started working really closely together. And people always say to me, like, how do I get all these amazing guys? And you basically are the man behind the scenes. You just know everybody. And you also, it's not just that as well. You will look at things and say, right, well, that's a good fit with that. That's going to be a good audience. Paul would really like to connect with this person because his audience are based around this or XXX, like whoever it is you're working. And this guy's audience over here, or this woman's audience over here is working around XXX. This is going to be a really good collaboration. And I've not had a bad collaboration with anybody, because of that. And obviously I get to then connect with these people, get to know them before we do anything. And if it's, if everything's all good, then it all, it is just amazing. And having somebody do that for me means that I can focus on my business. I can just focus on everything and you'll just go, right, here you go. We've got somebody here. We've got someone there. It's like brilliant, because you're doing all that behind the scenes. So what I want to ask actually is, how did you get started with joint ventures?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for all that, man. And really, the fact that I know a lot of people, some people think I know everyone, but man, I'm meeting new people all the time, just like meeting you, a couple of years ago. But so I really appreciate, you saying all that. And first of all, I actually have you mentioned his name earlier, my right-hand man, Vinny. He really helps me get down in the trenches, reaching out to people and finding those connections as well. And so we just really work well together to find those collaborations. But yeah, so as far as how I got started in this, actually, the short version is that I had been struggling doing online marketing myself, trying to find my own niche, try to become successful with affiliate marketing. That was one of my big interests, and it still is. I still love, referral marketing, affiliate marketing, so on, which I know you teach some of that with the YouTube video strategies and everything, Paul. But I was struggling, and I'd gone to a couple internet marketing events, and this was back in 2000, 2001 timeframe. Yeah. And I had met a gentleman by the name of John Ruiz at one of these events before. And John Ruiz was a guy back then that was shortly after that, he started teaching internet marketing, and he made a big name for himself in the industry eventually. But at the time, no one really knew who he was. I didn't know who he was. And we struck up a friendship. And that's kind of one of the keys to all this, whether it's virtually or in person, just make it personal on the front end, get to know people. That's kind of the first tip I'll give you guys on this call is just be real with people and find out what's in, what they got going on. Right. And so I did that with John and we stayed in touch over the next couple of years. And during that time, at some point, it was about 3 or 4 years later, he asked me what I was doing. And he asked me if I'd be interested in being his affiliate manager. And at the time, I had no clue what that meant. I knew it meant probably help him get affiliates to promote his online courses, but I wasn't sure. And he said, don't worry about it. I'll show you what you need to know. And so that was back in, it was about 4 months after he had launched his Traffic Secrets training, which was the first product that did $1 million in one day through a product launch, right? And I had helped him on some level, actually attended the event earlier that year that became Traffic Secrets, because most of that is recorded from that event that he had in March of 2004. Well, basically January 1st of 2005, I started as his affiliate manager, and I did that for almost 5 years. So that's how I got my feet wet in doing online joint ventures, meeting people, and learning just through basically hard knocks, the right way and the wrong way to reach out to people and get people interested in endorsing offers.
And as funny as you say that as well, I've learned so much from you in this last couple of years as well, like how to collab and do stuff. Because I worked on my own for so many years. And you're right, as you start to go through it, you start to learn, there's things you say and things that you do with people. And that, that depends on the success of the relationships you have. And I've been following your lead really in that sense. So you got that with John. And I just wanted to give a side note as well. So if people kind of wonder who John Ruiz is. So I just want to give it like clarification here. Russell Brunson's third book, Traffic Secrets, was basically, he bought that company off John Ruiz, right? So he bought that and he wrote that book based on that strategy, which is all about your Dream 100, which the Dream 100 is kind of where Andy comes in, because if you kind of have a list of all the Dream 100 people you want to work with, right, then, if you had someone like Andy as a JV manager, he would be able to connect you with those people, right? So I was kind of thinking about that. I was thinking like, obviously when you start with traffic, right, when you start for me, I start with a webinar, started getting out to the world. And then I read Traffic Secrets. This is before I even connect with you. And I was thinking like Dream 100. And I was kind of like, I don't know how to do that. Like that seems, I'll just carry on with my organic strategies. And I didn't know the power of working with somebody and connecting me with leaders in the industry until I started working with you. And I'm like, I get it. Yeah, okay, that's how it all works. And it's kind of like the synergy of you actually working with John, which I actually didn't know that. You never told me that. So I just found that out.
Really? You didn't? That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And amazing. So yeah, a good book to read, by the way, guys, is Traffic Secrets. So it's written by Russell Brunson, but it's actually comes from all the strategies that John Ruiz did $1 million launch, which he was the very first person in the industry to do that. And Andy, you were there at the start, man. Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah,
So I've obviously explained the way I see a joint venture. So in your words, like, would you mind kind of explaining what a joint venture is and, and how it applies to people with online marketing? Sure.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what you had just mentioned about you didn't realize the power of this type of traffic source. It's so true, man. I could talk for a long time about just kind of the psychology behind why that is, but we can get into different points of that as we go. But as far as the purposes of what we're talking about, I know most of your listeners are, been doing some online marketing or just learning or just kind of feeling your way through the ropes. And most of you guys have probably seen some training on the internet, such as Paul's. A lot of you guys are probably customers of Paul's. And you may have paid, $500 to $1,000 for an online training of some sort, maybe Paul's, for instance. And that training could be a fit for other people's email lists, right? So let's say, so let me just answer the question first of all. Not a joint venture is where you pair up two people come together, two companies come together and agree to either promote each other's offers, or one person endorses the other offer to that, to their own audience, right? And so it's a they come together for a venture. So it's called a joint venture. They work together, right? And there are a lot of different ways people consider joint ventures to be the best. Like if they promote one another or each other, that's the ideal scenario. But it's not always how it works in the industry. And we can get into some other nuances of that later on as you guys advance, or if you have any questions for me down the road or whatever. But essentially, it's basically just one person having an offer, like Paul's course, for instance, another person who has an email list, as an example, of people who this guy thinks, oh man, they would love Paul's course. Do you mind if I send out some emails to promote it, right? Usually through a webinar in Paul's case, right? And so this person will promote that webinar. Paul gets on the webinar, shares some high value information about that topic. And then at the end, an offer is made. And if, let's say 10, 20 people buy that course, then Paul agrees to split the commissions, and a certain percentage could be between 40 and 50% commission, usually for an online course, with that partner. And so that's what a joint venture is.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's the exciting thing about online marketing and digital marketing, things like that. So if you go and promote products that are physical, or you promote something where there's employees involved, or, all these different elements, then the commission's a lot lower. But with digital products, the commissions, I don't get less than 40% on anything, right? But often I get 50%, or I don't often get much more than 50%. But yeah, so between 40 and 50%, I would say is the average, right? And that's because obviously digital products can be sold in the masses and they cost nothing, right? Well, they cost a lot to put together and there's a lot of value in there, but to actually distribute, they're free, right? So they can, people will be prepared to split high commissions. And I just want to touch upon a point there. The thing that I think is the key to this is offering value. So if I come onto somebody else's audience or they come onto mine, the key is value. So I will make sure that obviously their webinar is going to be showing them stuff that they don't know about, or they might not know about, right? And it's going to open their eyes, and there's stuff that they can take away from those webinars and actually put to practice in their business. And and then obviously they will have a course to present, right? At the end of the webinar, they are going to sell their course. But the fact is that people who are, if I have vetted these people, you've vetted them for me, I've vetted them, I bring them onto my audience. People then go through that and okay, I'm going to get some value out of this. I have a weekly call every Tuesday, right? This just goes to show the power of this, right? I would bring on one, this obviously because we work close together, but I bring on one JV partner per month, right? And I will make sure obviously they bring in you tons of value, some opening your eyes, and then obviously at the end they would offer a course. But the thing is that my call volumes on those are almost double what I get on my other weekly calls. because my guys know my stuff, and obviously I train for free, and I reiterate my stuff, and a lot of my guys have obviously bought my courses anyway. So when I bring someone new on, they're excited. They want to know what's going down, and that's the funny thing about it. I can get double the call volumes on those calls themselves, because that's people absolutely love that. So thanks for clarifying that, man. That's really I've never heard you say it in that way, so that's cool. So
my pleasure.
Yeah, sure. So so the idea here is to build an affiliate army, so that can be very intimidating to some. So what advice have you got for first steps? Like for me, I'll give my first steps, and then I'll obviously, because I think putting the two together, I think people will obviously be able to kind of see how they can do it themselves. But for me, I got the perfect webinar script, right? I got it from Russell Brunson. I put that together, and then it was pretty lame. I needed to learn a thing or two, and I had some luck along the way. I basically went to an event where somebody broke down the webinar slides, and I was like, I need to put that in. And then I became friends with Mike Feel Same, and he sat down with me for 2 hours and helped me literally put in, the elements that were missing in my webinar. And then that then exploded, and that then connected me to you. So, so if somebody was going to, they're at the point, they've got an offer, they've got a product, what would you say would be their, some solid advice for their first steps that they could start right now?
Sure. Well, first of all, just to back up for a minute, what I would say to begin with is to understand, I know Paul mentioned, or you mentioned, Paul, that about building an affiliate army. And an affiliate army essentially is basically just having a lot of different people eventually who are willing to endorse your offer,
Right.
promote
Yeah.
your offer to their list or whatever. But when you're first starting out, don't even worry about any army or any, getting a bunch of people. Just focus on, okay, what is it I could do to start conversations with just a few people who might have an interest in endorsing me and my offer to their audience, right? So that allows you to not put as much pressure on yourself to, build this entire legion of affiliates to promote for you, right? Especially when you're first starting out. But assuming you have that in place, your mindset is set up to where, okay, I'm just going to start out slowly here. What you want to do is, first of all, make sure that whatever it is you want them promoting is already solid, right? So it's already an offer, it's already a product that works well, right? It's something that gets really good results for people, because what you don't want, you could be the best at convincing someone to promote you all day long, but if your product is a piece of junk and ticks off all of their people, word travels fast. Word travels fast if you have a good webinar, but it travels even worse, or travels even faster if your offer or your product stinks, right?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, make sure you have something solid that you feel really good about getting out into the marketplace. And a benefit to having that first also is, if you have that, then there's no reason to feel nervous or afraid to ask people to do something for you, which is what I've found through surveying people is the number one reason people won't ask someone else to promote for them is because they don't like to ask people to do stuff for them, right? But if you have a product that you really fully believe in and will make a difference, feel good about that. Have a mission. Hey, I want to get this out to as many people as I can. Right. So that's internally. That's you talking to yourself. It's you and your brainstorming, your note taking, whatever, as you plan things out. Right. And so now that you have that, what I would do first and foremost is get down all the details of your offer or your product, your actual affiliate opportunity, such as how much commission you're going to pay out, how fast you'll pay out. We can get in, there's all kinds of stuff you can put together, but basically you want to put that information in just a simple Google document is what I always recommend people start off with. Just use a Google document, because your prospective partners or affiliates don't care about how pretty the page looks or anything like that. They just want to know, hey, what is it you have to offer so I can take a look at it and see if it's a fit for my audience, because there's no one that knows their audience better than they do, right? And so just put the details down in a Google document. Again, product name, brief description of what it does. But most importantly, for the purposes of this document, is that you want to make sure that it lays out what's in it for the potential affiliate. Okay. Like I said, how much money they can make from it. How is it converted to your own list? How is it converted to any paid ads you may have done or with other JV partners or affiliates? And you don't have to have all that conversion data when you start, which is a big myth. A lot of people think you have to, but you don't. You start where you can start, right? And so it starts with that, having a solid product, and then just laying out the details of the product and what's in it for the affiliate the best you can, so that you've got it in a document and you don't have to try and convince somebody verbally on a call or through Facebook Messenger, through typing away, just trying to convince them to endorse your offer. Instead, what you can do is just reach out to them. And this may be for a little later in this podcast, but in a nutshell, when you reach out to someone, make it all about them and their audience, asking, hey, what is it your people are interested in if you are, promoting other offers or whatever. And maybe I've got something to be a fit. And then you just kind of keep it all about them, keep it laid back, and just start a conversation, right? And so once that conversation starts and they tell you what that is, what it is their people want, then if your product, if you feel your offer is good for them, you just say, well, look, I have an idea for you. I actually have a new webinar that's out that sells a product about A, B, and C. Would you mind taking a look at it and see if it's a fit? And that's all you have to ask. And they'll say yes or no. And most of the time, if you've done what I've already mentioned, they're going to say, yeah, what you got? Let me see it. So then you just send them a link to that document and let the document, preferably with a link to a video from you that talks about the JV opportunity for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, but invites them to check out the rest of the document. If they check that out, send them the doc, say, look, you mind if I follow up with you in a couple of days or whatever? No rush. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And then just make sure you follow up with them and confidently knowing that, hey, I think this could really be of benefit to your people if you do. And that's it.
Yeah. I would like to add to that as well, because you've got to remember that these guys, like the ones that you're wanting to promote, right, you're going to them. So you know that they, you already know who they are. They don't necessarily know who you are at this stage. Right. And if this is the first offer or something you've got and your name's not known, right, I'm just going to say, guys, do not do this. I can make you so much money, right? Because they get that crap all day, every day, right? And they don't want to hear it, right? I get it all the time now. It's really funny. And the thing is that you aren't going to get someone's attention by coming at me like that. So, like what Andy's just given there is pure gold, because this is stuff that I've learned as well, because I think I did that as well. I think I actually did that because I didn't know how to approach people. I thought this is what they want to hear, right? So it's not like it's not that you're doing anything wrong, because you'll kind of probably have the same preconceived ideas I had, was that that's what they want to hear, but that's not what they want to hear, right? And I tell you, doing a little video, I guarantee you hardly anybody, even now, I get all these emails like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do, I have something that would be really good fit for you. Can we hop on a call? Well, let me know what it is. Like, I'm not going to just hop on a call with like 1,000 people every week. Well, no, I think it's better if we talk. Well, I'm not going to play cat and mouse. I actually sometimes ignore those emails now. Or Kevin does, because it's like, well, if you kind of don't understand the basics, it's not their fault necessarily, but if they don't understand the basics, then it's not necessarily going to get people's attention. So if you send someone a little Loom, an interview, you can just set up like an app that you can put on your, I use, I'm trying to think of the one I use. I can't remember now. But basically Loom, right? It's a free app. You create a short video and you say, and you literally explain what it is and why you think it would be a good fit. And something quite short, not 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute video, all that stuff, because people don't have time. They don't know who you are. You want to get their attention, right? But you want to get their attention in a way that's not aggressive, not coming at them, just letting them know what you've got and why you think it would be a good fit for them. That is the key. Now, I did exactly that with somebody called Pat Flynn, and I opened up a conversation with him last year to go on his podcast, and I actually haven't followed up, so it's my fault. But I actually, he straight away emailed me and said, "Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad to hear from you." Right. And he was like, I started a conversation, and then, unfortunately I haven't followed it up, but I will follow up with him. But that was, straight away he got back to me, because it was kind of like I was talking to him like a person. Right. And, just a few things like that. So that's real solid advice, man. And yeah, we do a lot of stuff on Google Docs, just because everybody uses Google Docs. It's really easy. You can lay everything out really simply. Would you say it's essential to have a JV page at the start, or do you think maybe come to that a bit later?
You mean a page in addition to the Google document, or in lieu of that?
Yeah, because like I have a JV page, right? Like where, you would present that to people. Do you think that's essential at the start, or would you say maybe a bit later?
It's not essential. I would say that use your best judgment. Like, I guess the point is not to wait 3-4 weeks to start getting affiliates or reaching out to people about your opportunity because you're waiting to make your JV page perfect. You know what I mean? I would say that you can, within one day, really within a couple hours, maybe even an hour or less, you could have a JV document created, ready to go, just from the basic information about your offer and your opportunity that you can start putting in front of people. And you can even reach out to them and say, look, so you start that conversation the way I mentioned. And then when they say they're interested in checking out more, say, all right, great. Well, hey, don't hold it against me, but I have this ugly little, it's just an ugly little Google document, 2 pages long, nothing fancy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, hey, man, no worries. I just want to see, some more details. And one thing to include in that is a link to your replay. First of all, I forgot to mention that earlier. Make sure that if you, again, let me back up for a second. I know some of you watching this may not have your own product right now or your own offer or whatever, but you may have plans to do so. When I mention a webinar, that's kind of the biggest way online marketers like Paul and others are using to sell their offer. And so if you do decide to create your own product and work with joint venture partners and affiliates that you reach out to using webinars, make sure that you have a replay to that webinar. So I feel like I kind of got off track there a little bit, but no, you do not need a fancy JV page, JV invite page, I like to call it, when you first start out. But if you're like Paul, who's pretty quick with Groove funnels and or whatever page software you use, whether it's whatever, lead pages, whatever the case may be.
My JV part page is actually in Kartra at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. So whatever software that you use and you feel like, hey, I can whip that up pretty quickly, go for it. Use your best judgment. But really, if you know in your heart, man, it's going to take me a while to create it, or I need to get somebody to create it for me, man, just start out and here, let me back up for a second. I'm just kind of rambling here. What I would do really is just challenge yourself. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I'm going to put as much information on this page as I can, as much ammo as I have that will convince somebody to want to promote my offer. And so you just start listing the things out and try to organize it succinctly or whatever the case may be. But challenge yourself to just create something that's good enough within 30 minutes, because it's like my mentor, John Ruiz, we already talked about a few times, talked about your web pages, your offers, all that stuff is never going to be worse than when you first start. And so get something created that you can build off of. And it doesn't mean you have to start sending it out after 30 minutes. I'm just saying, once you get as much as you can down in 30 minutes on that Google document and you sit back and look at it, you'd be like, okay, this isn't that complicated. Then you can just organize it a little bit better, tweak it, add it. Oh, maybe I'll add an image. Maybe I'll add a video to the top, whatever the case may be, so that then, you've got something you can use. And then later on, you can always have someone on your team, or you on a weekend when you have a couple hours to mess around, get in and create a better page for it if you want. But man, I'm telling you, there have been millions made getting JV deals. I know on our end, just referring affiliate offers to others just by using Google Documents. So don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And also, I would, if you don't mind, I'd just like to add one thing to that, because I would just want to kind of like reflect that on what I did. So bearing in mind, like, I started in this industry, there's me and there's Kevin, and then there's Andy, right? Andy organizes all my JV partnerships for me. And that's our team. We actually outsource some of our billing. That's it, right? So what I had to do was, because I didn't know about this stuff, right? So all I did was I just went and found someone else's JV page and I watched their videos. I looked at their replay. I just looked at everything and just thought, right, well, what would attract me, right? Because I always think that's really key. If you're the sort of person that what would you be looking for if you were going to work with this person? And then you take those elements out and model it, right? You say, okay, well, I'm going to put that in my JV page. And I remember my JV page was about a year out of date, and you said to me, can you update it? And I was like, okay. So this was in September, and I updated the JV page and I put in everything, right? Everything went into that, like, how much EPCs and all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly, like, literally you came to me, right? So-and-so wants to work with you. So-and-so wants to work with you. So literally, it was almost straight away, as soon as I changed it, my calendar started blowing up, which is around September time. And so, I mean, obviously I didn't have that to start with. My first JV page was just like, hey guys, if you want to work with me, here's my webinar. It was kind of, that was it really. And I was still getting work, it's kind of still getting those JV partnerships. But then you add to it, right? You've now got data that you can kind of update and you can add as you go forward. But you don't need a lot of that. But if you do want to have a page, like I would say, I would agree with you. I would say, let's just start with a Google Doc and then just build as we go. As long as you have an offer, something that's really good, I think that's the key here. If you have something that's going to be valuable to someone else's audience, that's your best starting point to start with. Yeah, by far. Yeah.
Well, it's exactly like we talked about before when you ask, what would you do first? And again, it always comes back to that product and your offer. And your offer, as it relates to the partners, isn't just the offer you're selling, but it's also the offer to them to come on board as an affiliate, right? So that page is actually selling them on the opportunity to promote your offer. But again, it goes back to how solid that product is. And Paul and I were talking before the call. Again, I think we kind of mentioned this a little bit, that don't feel like, hey, nobody knows me. No, why would someone want to promote me because I'm unknown, right, or something like that. But what the truth is that it really comes, that's all the more reason to reach out to people like a real person, show that you care about them and their audience first to get their attention, because they start to realize, hey, this is a good guy or good gal, that they care about my people. And so they're going to want to take a look a little bit more at what you have, right? And so then it becomes the results of that promotion that basically lead to more and more contacts, because like I said before, good news and bad news travels fast, right? And so if a webinar, and I'm jumping ahead here, but bear with me if you don't mind, Paul. But when you start doing that and you get one person is all it takes, you get one person say, yeah, I'd like to run that webinar to my audience, then don't worry about getting a bunch of other partners right now. You go all in to make sure that, you communicate with that partner as much as possible, make sure that you have everything that they need provided to them, being professional, being, timely with getting stuff over to them, whatever the case may be, all focused on making sure that first promotion that you do with a JV partner / affiliate is a success, right? Now, it may or may not convert the greatest the first couple times or whatever. Sometimes they're a home run. Sometimes they fizzle out or whatever. But as long as you communicate and you're cool with them, they're going to have your back. They're not going to go talking bad about you in your webinar or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that, right? But there's a good chance if you have a good product and you've done your research and you have a solid webinar that someone else endorses to their audience and it goes well, other people are going to start catching wind of that, from the partner talking to his colleagues to people who are on that email list of his that see the webinar, who also have email lists that they could promote your webinar to. And people will, one at a time, over time, start reaching out saying, hey, I saw your webinar about such and such. Can I promote that or whatever? And so that's kind of how it goes. And that's kind of like Paul was saying, he may have been virtually unknown in the industry per se, but now he's not. But it's only because he took it one step at a time, one partner at a time. And more importantly, again, he has a solid offer, but he also really takes care of his people. And as you guys know, with the interviews he does and just really taking care of you guys on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that as well, because I think relationships is everything, right? If you, like you say, if you've got a good offer, but also if you've got a good relationship, with people, like when I connected with you, I know you'd asked Joe about me. He could have said, don't bother with him. He's a waste of time, right? If I'd have had a bad relationship with them, you might not have reached out to me, right? So, I mean, the likelihood is that wasn't going to be the case because I've just been working with them. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of like making it, totally bringing it into my story. Just like if I didn't have a good relationship. Now, also what happens as well is that sometimes people come back to you 6 months later or a year later or 3 months later and say, I've either got this other offer or, hey, look, that worked really well. Should we do it again? Right? Things like that. And sometimes, it works so well that you just put it in the diary. We just did one recently and we just put it straight in the diary for another 6 months. Because there's going to be new people in my audience and in the person I just worked with audience that are going to want to see it, right? And they'll have missed it. So it's always going to, and there's always fresh and new training you put in as well and a new approach. So there's always something that can be added and you can kind of carry on working with people. And again, as you say, like people just like recommend you to people. I get people emailing me that I didn't even know who I was, right? People say to me, hey man, I've been watching you, you're doing amazing stuff. And so-and-so said this about you or so-and-so said that about you. And you're like, wow, I didn't even know that. And so relationships is everything. And obviously, that was what, obviously I was just highlighting what you were alluding to. And being nice with people as well. We all have our bad days. Me and Andy have had our bad days. We're all human, but you've got to treat people with respect. You've got to treat people the way you want to be treated. But I mean, obviously, you guys know that. It's like but just especially with JV partnerships. Obviously, when you're bringing something to the table, someone else is bringing it. It's really cool. So, just one last question, and I really appreciate your time, man. Like, we've gone on way longer than I expected, but so we've now got an offer. We're now working with amazing people, right? What do we then do? How do we leverage those results into getting more partners? And how do you keep those partners interested in promoting you and your offers in the future?
Sure. Well, it kind of goes back to what I had mentioned about treating people right. The golden rule is at the core of everything I've ever done in this business is try to treat people the way I want to be treated, right? And it's the same for you guys. And like Paul is referencing, once you do an offer that goes well, it's not uncommon to book that 6 to 12 months down the road again. So as long as you're taking care of your people, you got an offer that's going well, you're treating them right and paying them quickly, right? One of the best things you could do, to answer your question, Paul, when you've got a successful promotion under your belt, first of all, pay them on time, but even early. Pay them faster than they're expecting sometimes,
Yeah.
And when you pay them, reach out to them. Here's a big tip for you. Reach out to them, thanking them again for promoting, saying, hey, I just want to let you know, we just wired you $20,000. Thanks so much for promoting. And usually they will respond pretty quickly. If they're around, they'll respond pretty quickly, say, hey, thanks a lot, really appreciate it. And then ask them, once you have their attention, hey, did you enjoy the promotion? What do you think? And so then they'll probably tell you some pretty glowing things. And you say, well, that's awesome. Hey, do you mind if I use that as a testimonial? When they say, yeah, sure. Then you can even ask them, hey, would you mind just taking your phone out and for 30 seconds, just 30, 60 seconds, something, nothing fancy, but could you just say a few words about what it was like working with us and promoting our offer? And would you mind if I use that on our JV page? And 90% of the time, they're going to say, yeah, man, sure. A lot of times they get it back to you right away. Now, you might want to follow up with them about it, but if they haven't, but that's the kind of stuff that can leverage your results, because when people come to your Google document or your JV page, whatever, and they see either an embedded video or a link to a couple of video testimonials from past affiliates or JV partners, a lot of times those will be people that your prospective partners recognize. And even if they don't, if someone's saying, man, Paul was awesome to work with, his webinar converted great to my audience, it was high value content, he pays fast, then that's going to convince someone else to do it. And so just by adding those little things along the way really helps in leveraging that long term. And then that should give you the confidence too, that once you get the ball rolling with a few partners, you can reach out to more people knowing that this is done well. And one last thing I'll add that I forgot to mention, when you reach out to these people after you pay them quickly and they say, yeah, it was awesome or whatever, not only do you ask them if they will consider booking it again down the road, but also ask them, hey, do you know anyone else who might be a good partner for this? So there are like 3 different things. I've gotten actually like a 10-minute training on it or something where I basically just mentioned what I just said to you guys, kind of the 3 ways to really leverage one offer into many. And those are the things you want to ask them, because you never know. They might be like, yeah, I got, here's this guy and this guy I think could be a fit. And then you can ask them, hey, would you mind making an introduction for me? And so that's how you do it. Just really hone in. First of all, one thing we didn't talk about is really start reaching out to your low-hanging fruit first. People you already know, like, and trust, who are either in the space that you're looking for partners from, or people who would know potential partners for you, and really just keep it a tight-knit community of people and just take it one step at a time, asking those types of things, and you'll be able to leverage that ongoing as long as you take care of people.
Yeah. And I know there's going to be a few people thinking, right, okay, you want me to pay them? Like, we've got a 30-day money back guarantee, and what if some people cancel? So I just wanted to add to that. You don't pay them the whole amount, right? And you're not, you might want to pay them 50% or whatever you agree or whatever you decide. But the fact is that obviously you're not going to pay them the whole amount, but you're not going to get that many cancellations. And you never have that. So some people might be thinking, oh, what do I do? So that's kind of the key is that, yeah, if you just make them a sort of a payment up front because they've just sold 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 of your courses, you can give them a chunk of that, right? Now, I didn't even know that as well because I had that situation come up to me and I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, I didn't know you did that. Like, how does that work? And I got it explained to me and I was a little bit embarrassed that I hadn't offered, right? Because I didn't know that was a thing. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then from there on in, it's like, right, that's what we do. Like, it's a no-brainer. And I want to add another point to what you just said there, like timing, because what we're talking about is when you've just done a promo with somebody, you're fresh in their mind, right? And they're fresh in yours. Everything's exciting. Everybody's making sales. Everyone's getting excited. That's the time to do it, right? If you ask them a month from now, you might get a different response. You might get the same response if they love you, but you might get a different response because they might be working with someone else or doing something else. And they've got to look at their sheets and go, oh, okay, yeah, we've done that. So, the likelihood is if you're building a great relationship with someone, they're going to want to do it anyway. But the fact is that the timing is key there as well, because if you get all these things done that Annie just said, like straight after the promo, that's a really good time to, get all those things that Annie just said, get connected with other people, get a testimonial, amazing. And there's some stuff there as well that I'm like, okay, right, I'm going to do that a bit more. There's a couple of things I might have forgotten to do over oh yeah, right, I better put that back in. So it's kind of like, it's ongoing.
Yeah, believe it or not, Vinny and I actually have done that for you.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
You know what? So, but one thing I want to add to that is that's a great point. Timing is everything. And that's why I mentioned to do it ideally right after you pay them, or whatever. We won't go down that road. We don't have time for that. But what I was going to say was it's very similar to what people have been saying for the longest time, that the best time to sell somebody another product is right after they bought one from you, when they're feeling good about it. And that's what, that's why upsells work so well. Back end sales right after the sale, work so well because they're still feeling the love of, from what they've found out about your offer. It's the same thing with this. They're feeling the love because, hey, they just got paid for an extremely successful promo, or even just a lukewarm promo. It doesn't really matter. They're still going to be feeling good about the fact they got paid, and they're going to be like, yeah, that was a great promo. Really appreciate it. That's the best time to do that. So like Paul was saying, so that they don't cool off and get really busy. And then, it's harder to get them to book a webinar again and to do a JV testimonial or to refer somebody else to you or something like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, first of all, just thank you so much, man, for so much gold. And, there's some stuff in there as well that I need to level up on. So, that's the great thing about doing these things. Like, obviously, and me and Andy don't often get a chance to sit down and have a chat one-to-one. We do a lot of stuff via email. So it's actually just nice to, connect with you and hang out with you. You're one of the good guys in the industry. So say somebody's got a converting webinar, right? And they want somebody, i.e. you, to do that, right? Or they've got some sort. So first of all, I just wanted to obviously clarify, like, when should they contact you and how, and what's the process there? Because obviously we want to do a call to action for people that want to get in contact with you, but it's not going to be for everybody, right? We want to make this clear. This is not for new beginners where you haven't quite got nailed your offer, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate that fact that you're, allowing me to share some details like that. Sure. First of all, I'll just give you a website. Okay. It's endorsedtrafficpros.com. All right. Endorsedtrafficpros.com.
And I'll put a link in the show notes, guys. So you better click straight over to it. Yeah.
Right on. Well, and just so you know, so our main focus is usually on people who either already have a webinar that's doing well, or it's a brand new webinar in the internet marketing, online marketing space, BizOp or make money online space. Could be crypto, could be real estate investing, could be anything about, kind of making more money. That's kind of the niche that I do the best in, really, right? And I have a lot of contacts in there. So if you have a webinar related to that, and you want to know if it's something that we could help with, just go to that site. And right now there's a form on there where we just ask you to answer a few questions. And that helps us to understand kind of where you're at. And then we can get back to you, let you know what we can or can't do based on that. But then also even if you don't have a webinar, if you're an affiliate and you're doing some affiliate promos of webinars already, and you would like to know of some others that are doing well, by all means, fill out that form as well and just let us know, hey, I've been successfully promoting webinars and just wondered what else you have in case, it's a fit for my list. Then by all means, use that too. But when it all comes down to it, any, person on Paul's list or in his Facebook group or watching these podcasts and so on is a friend of mine too. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me easily on Facebook. If you ping me and let me know that you found me through Paul's podcast, I'd be more than happy to guide you in the right direction. So that's it.
That's amazing. So guys, that's endorsedtrafficpros.com. The link will be in the show notes, in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to click it, go and check it out. And all I want to say, man, is thank you so much for sharing some incredible insights into the world that I didn't even know existed 2 years ago. And now I've got my acting agent, right? I'm getting my leading roles in films. And you guys are honestly, he's really humble, but Andy and Vinny are some of the nicest guys I've ever worked with in the industry. I was so lucky that, you found me really. And in life, you kind of put yourself in the way of luck, right? I believe that luck exists. I believe that you put yourself in the way of it. That was one of those moments. And, I'm so glad that you're around to look after everything for me. So thank you so much, man. And thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Paul. And just so everyone knows too, I feel just as fortunate. I'm not going to lie. Vinny and I have made some pretty nice income as a result of representing Paul and his webinar. And we've only done so for so long because, again, he's got a solid product. He's a good guy, takes care of his people, and it's just been a joy to work with. So, Paul, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you and your guests here.
Oh, man, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, have a great day. And I'll be emailing you probably in the next few days. Take care, man.
Sounds good, Paul. Yeah. Take care, man. Thank you. See you, everybody.
Speak soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.